Very good. Very good.
Good? How we doing, man?
Me?
Yeah.
As soon as this boots and I take this
You
off.
want that right here?
Huh?
You want that right here?
No, if we put it on the same table,
Oh.
all hell will break loose with the sound because every time we laugh or move a page,
Okay.
it'll all go straight to hell.
All right.
Are you gonna leave the door open?
You want me to start recording now, or?
Sure, we can cut it off in post.
Yeah.
It has like a red memory card button here. Does that mean it has enough storage, or?
Yeah, it's going onto the card. That's
Okay,
what it's
cool.
saying. And all of a sudden, I just got really hungry. Oh, yeah. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi. And welcome. We're really, really glad to have some
wow.
people to play.
Not bad.
And without getting too far into detail, Jared and I have known each other since about 1999 or early in the year 2000. And we actually have a really interesting relationship because we competed against each other. Then I graduated and coached him for a year. Then he graduated, and together we survived the Long Beach graduate program circa about 2002, 3, 4, 5. So, and not a math guy.
Yeah.
So, in a weird way, this is funny because we've been playing this game in various forms since 1999. But one of the things that I'm most proud to share with Jared, not counting our history together, not counting the fact that he fixed our office block the week he moved in. Pro tip, if you get one of the roommates for an office in college, always get someone who's an expert at interior design. But we are also both charter members of the 2 Club. Me and my partner, Danny Shea, took second at NPTE in the year 2002. And if I'm not mistaken, yours was 03?
Yeah.
So, and Jared and Audrey Mink from CSU Long Beach took second at NPTE in the year 2000.
It was a way more competitive tournament than I would have.
Oh, it totally was, right? Once they got the rubes out of the way, and that made life a little bit easier. So that's a little bit of how we know each other and where we come from. There is one more thing that I'd like to mention, and that is, with gentle respect, you are my second favorite member of your family. Because my favorite member of your family is my original persuasion coach, Tara Kubica Miller, who knew me back in early 1998 and 1997 when I had short hair. And she's one of the last people on earth who knew me from that time. So, and if you have a coach that tells you to go persuade the trees, and when you can persuade the trees, then you will be ready to enter your junior round, you'll know you found a heck of a keeper. So that's sort of what I wanted to say about our history. Do we want to introduce the debate form, or?
Yeah, I'll say we're just doing a regular IPDA round. The reason we chose this was the one-on-one format, but also because it more closely mirrors the style that we were debating when we were competing. Parliamentary debate seems stylistically to have evolved into something else. But the reason that we even do this is it's really easy. We like debate. I mean, that's the simple reason. A little bit more detail, though, is I come from an art background. I took a bunch of art classes, life drawing, drafting, architecture, and things like that. And all my all my professors would sit down and draw next to us. And so that's kind of how I compared this to that. You know what I mean? Where you do it also. If this is an art form, then and you're an art teacher, then you do the art with your students. And so that's philosophically kind of where I'm coming from.
Would you trust an art teacher who couldn't draw? So I agree. I think that that's wonderful, and I'm really excited for the opportunity for us to have a good nature IPDA discussion.
Ready?
I believe so. It has to be incredibly weird for you to watch a tenured professor stand up in front of you and defend the resolution that higher education is overrated. I will admit that that is weird at the very beginning. However, when we were setting up for this debate, I decided I was going to take a risk, that I was going to do something that I'm not even sure is legal in debate. And that is that I'm going to be honest with you. And as a tenured professor on the inside of higher education, I can tell you right now that higher education is absolutely overrated. And over the next 4 minutes and 41 seconds, it's my job to demonstrate that to you. First off, let's just have a few definitions so that we can make sure that we're on the same page. These all come from Merriam-Webster. So, higher education means education beyond high school, especially at a college university. And overrated means having a higher opinion of than deserved. I think that's fairly clear. There's nothing sneaky going on there. We just want to make sure we're on the same page. Therefore, to win this debate, my burden is to show that higher education is, in fact, overrated, that people have a higher opinion of it than it deserves. In order to win the debate, my learned opponent need merely demonstrate the opposite. So, with that said, I have 3 major sets of arguments that I would like to make. And the major set of arguments I would like to start with is, I'm sorry, but college won't get you hired. So, we all know that the old ways are changing. It used to be that a time in high school would guarantee you a good life, that a college degree would guarantee you a good life, but that's not true anymore, even for MAs and PhDs. Please don't take it from me. The good folks at Forbes in May of 2013 revealed that half of college graduates work in a job that doesn't require a degree at all in that field, or even to have. The Harvard Business Review of July 2010 put on their snootiest accent when they said that higher education doesn't lead to more and better jobs, and that it's time for us to challenge that myth instead of uncritically believing that higher education is always good. Investor Mark Cuban told Incorporated Magazine that the student loan bubble is the next bubble which is going to explode on us. And the Project on Student Debt revealed that the average debt on graduation is $24,000. And that even counts people who go to the colleges like I go to, where your credits are $46 a unit. So, the Chicago Tribune reported on August 24, 2016, that there are $1.26 trillion in cost in the student loan bubble, and that is increasing all of the time. So in other words, this is getting worse and worse. In fact, Peter Thiel even offers a scholarship of $100,000 for people to quit school and go into the workforce so that they don't end up with the same debt. So millennials, I'm sorry to say it, if you feel like you got screwed, you did, because college is overrated. The next argument I want to make is that the image of college is way better than the reality. We're all familiar with college movies, our Animal Houses, our Accepteds, our PCUs, and so on. The college comedy of no responsibility, very little to do and nothing to do but run around being with freedom from your parents, being sexually adventurous, and binge drinking while you do drugs. All of these things are awful. Binge drinking is dangerous, and doing drugs will kill you if you are not very lucky. This has touched our community in a lot of ways, and while I'm not going to name names, I just want to take a second and remember the ones who should be here today, because they experienced why that actually is overrated. So, as we move on, remember, college degrees make this more and more difficult, and your so-called freedom to explore is getting smaller and smaller as college goes from exploration to program planning. So if you were coming to college expecting to get a college movie, I am so sorry, college for you is overrated. The last major argument I'd like to make is that college is dangerous. Look, I wish this wasn't true, but it is. The Huffington Post quoted the common statistic on September 28, 2015, that 1 in 4 women in college will be sexually assaulted or attacked. The Atlantic magazine reported on September 22, 2015, that this is worse for LGBTQA youth. And don't take my word for it. Go look up your Campus Clery report, that's C-L-E-R-Y, and you can see for yourself every crime that's been committed on that campus and all the horrible things that have happened there over the course of the year. I would be remiss, of course, if not mentioning that this is worst for young men of color who are at the highest risk of both the school-to-prison pipeline and of failing out, and for the differently abled, many times, who go through this nightmare of trying to get basic ADA compliance in order to get there. So, there's even arguments between all these colleges on which one is most dangerous, and they're all over the web. So, in closing, it doesn't have to be this way. College doesn't have to be overrated, but until we honestly face up to what is wrong with it, college will always be overrated, and I am so sorry if you got cheated.
Well, just sit like interview style.
Certainly.
Yeah, right.
I feel like I should have a fern behind.
All right. Now that was brilliant. Thank you very much. So let's start with burdens. You said that it is that if people give it a greater value than it's actually worth, then that means it's overrated. So if I show that people don't value it, does that mean I win?
That's an excellent question. I would say that the question's not don't value. It's if you say don't value and I say they value too much, I think that debate has to happen on the details.
Okay, so no comment? Is that what the response is?
No, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not going to commit to college is worthless and give you the chance to outleft me.
Okay, so like if I point out that U.S. culture doesn't really value higher education all that much in the first place, I mean, how does that play out in the round?
Interesting. I think you can definitely make arguments about how we don't value higher education. However, I think if we can prove that people value it at all, then that'll put the debate back into play.
Okay.
So I think you're right, you could win that, but you'd have to prove that no one values college or that everyone values it at nothing.
Okay, so what's the difference between higher education being expensive and it being overrated?
Well, the definition that we went said overrated is when people think that it's more respectable or they think that it's more important than they deserve.
And the way you measure that is through money.
No, the way I measured that is through money and dead people and assault and a number of other horrible things.
Okay.
Money is just one aspect.
So like if when people generally value things on money, like would return on investment be a legitimate way to value something?
Yes.
Okay.
ROI would be a great way to value something.
So
We
if
should
I
have
show that the return on investment with education it exceeds the return exceeds the investment, then do I win?
I think if you can prove that and that outweighs the other two major arguments, then yes, you absolutely would.
Okay, thank you. Okay, everybody. You know what? I think I want to go.
Let me guess. 6 off under.
Yeah.
I think it says the camera has about 18 minutes remaining on it, of data.
Of data?
Yeah, or like it just says in the bottom, 17 minutes, 33 seconds.
All right, let's get going then. All right.
We'll move with alacrity.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to start with just a few burdens to clarify things. I thought there were some pretty good definitions, but some clarity is needed. And then a little bit on my own position. I'm going to start with some real arguments, and then I'll move on to his. Okay. Starting with the burdens. Yes, we have to show that society, where society currently rates the value of higher education. Therefore, it would be my ability to show that if there isn't that high of a value on higher education, like looking at certain cultural cues, that would stand to reason that it's not overrated, that it might even be underrated, that so many people look at higher education as a waste of time or a waste of money. That would actually be proving the opposite, okay? And that should be my ground in this round, okay? So I'm going to do exactly that, but I want to start off with my argument, which is that agreeing with this resolution as an audience member stratifies society. If you believe that higher education is overrated, there are certain implications that come with that statement that are horrible for our society. So first, let's take a look at the term overrated. Very recently, the term overrated was used by Donald Trump to refer to Meryl Streep, right? Being an overrated actress, something to delegitimize it, and therefore as a way of launching some sort of boycott on her movies from certain people or things like that. So agreeing with this resolution would also have that effect on our society. Secondly, the resolution legitimizes denying people higher education. Because if it's overrated, there's no reason why we have to provide it to anybody like Finland does for free, or other countries that are doing it for free. If it is overrated, why would we ever invest in it? Because obviously the affirmative believes that the return on investment is so low, or in the negative column, that we don't have to invest in it whatsoever. Third, access to higher education will only concentrate power within the wealthy. If you believe that higher education is overrated as a society, I can guarantee you there's a group of people that won't agree with that, and those are rich people, because they have never believed that. They always understand how important higher education is. They always send their kids to the best schools. They pay for a building to get them in there, despite the fact that they have never passed a class legitimately. If you legitimize this resolution by agreeing with it, the ripple effect that has will actually make things worse. It will actually make things worse. Now I have a few other things I'm going to apply to case, okay? So, first he says that that Forbes is talking about how you don't have to have a degree in order to get a job. That's absolutely not true. Okay, it's like maybe you can find exceptions, but the general rule is that a higher education degree gets you income twice that of somebody who doesn't have that degree. Okay, the return on investment, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education, is 7-to-1. If you invest $1 into education, whether it is the government or your individual pocketbook, you get $7 back within your lifetime. The return on investment still exists, even within a country where higher education is expensive in the United States. My next argument is higher education being expensive is not the same as higher education being overrated. Those aren't synonymous. You can have something that is expensive and still have a great value to it, okay? And higher education is absolutely one of those things. Let's move on to, I didn't number your argument there. All right, he says that, I would say that the $100,000 scholarship to not go to school shows that he's only giving that to people that are in college. And I think there's a reason why you're doing that, because he knows that people who got into college are worth it. Okay, he's not going to give that to some random person. He's not going to do that to somebody who didn't get accepted into a college. I think that it kind of shows the opposite, okay? The Forbes analysis, in which he says that it doesn't require a degree, Forbes is an excellent example of a conservative publication that would love to continue the stratification of American citizens, that would love to make it so that they have peons that are working for them at entry-level positions so they can hire their cousin that has gone through the Harvard program because their uncle paid for the building, okay? Now that is something, I think that we are smarter than that, and the reason we are smarter than that is because we go to college and we can see through that bullshit, all right? He talks about how the responsibility that there's a lot of drug use and binge drinking. First off, that is decreasing right now at astronomical rates, as is other risky behaviors like unprotected sex amongst the millennial population. That seemed to be something that was big in the baby boom generation. That's more generational, not a result of higher education. But NPR points out that women who have higher education are far less likely to accept domestic abuse than women who do not go to higher education. So if you think that it is dangerous to go to college, I can tell you something that's more dangerous, and that is ignorance. That is the far more dangerous thing. If you don't know how to address a lawyer, if you don't know how to file paperwork, if you're not brave enough to do these things, that is far more dangerous to somebody's life. These things exist, and knowing that how they exist and how to deal with them is an important part of our society. Higher education is one thing that does that. It is nowhere near overrated. It is more valuable than ever.
That was brilliant. Mind if I ask you a few questions? Outstanding. So, are you going for college was worthless, or college is undervalued?
You're going for college is worthless. I'm saying it's nowhere. I would say that it is undervalued.
Okay. Excellent.
We should invest more.
Ah, I see. So then in your impression, something's valued, as you asked me, then by the money, that's where it goes?
I can defend that for sure, but I think that the way that people are able to protect themselves, specifically women that might be victims of domestic abuse, yeah, I think that's a pretty damn good benefit.
I see. And naturally then, in your view, this is the only way that people can defend themselves?
It tends to be a better way than not having it.
I see. So if it turns out college is dangerous and people end up accidentally developing these skills firsthand, that's just something that happens?
I think that the development of these dangerous skills just happens, but higher education is a way to address those things head on, not ignore them, not suppress it, or intimidate people into not speaking up against it.
How are young men of color and the differently abled doing in this undervalued college you speak of?
They earn more money, have more power at the end of a higher education degree than those who don't.
$24,000 in debt then on average, remember not max, is just collateral damage?
They get a higher return on their investment. Like that debt exists even if they don't go to college because they get wrapped up into credit cards, into bad loans, they get horrible mortgage rates.
Why are bad loans bad?
Because people don't understand and can't read the contract because they haven't gone through higher education.
Okay. In other words, then, reading will save you?
A lot of times, yeah.
I agree. All right. So, I'm going to handle my arguments and then whatever he said. Ready? I want to start on the idea of the image of college, because what he has shown is that college can be beneficial. He has yet to show that college is undervalued in any way. In other words, it could be useful, but the question isn't useful, it's do you think it's as useful as it's actually going to be? I'm going to start at the most important part, which is college is dangerous. My learned opponent seems to think that this will just solve itself because when people get to college, they will magically develop critical thinking skills that will keep them safe from the orgy of drugs and violence that surrounds them. I disagree, because if nothing else, I think we're ahead on time frame. Normally it's freshmen who experience this kind of folks or folks who have just transferred, whereas a lot of the skills he's talking about develop more slowly over time. That means it's too late for the 1 in 4 women that the Huffington Post extends will be attacked or sexually assaulted while they are in school. So if you go into this, for his argument to be true, you had to go to college thinking, this is a dangerous place and I need to be aware of it. I'm not sure that that's everyone's impression, and the ones who aren't with us, I think, would agree with that. So let's go to a couple of his arguments at the very beginning, or on the other side. Now, he says that this is an excuse to delegitimize college. My first response is, sorry bro, saw you coming. Look at the underview. College doesn't have to be this way. That's what we said at the very beginning. But if we can't honestly take on these flaws, if we just paper it over as no, college is wonderful and you're going to learn all these critical thinking skills and don't worry about the sexual assault and drugs, that is a terrible way of going about this discussion. He says Finland has a better education system. He might be right. They didn't elect Trump yet, so there's at least options in that area. But when he says college is access to power, especially for people in disadvantaged socioeconomic classes, I disagree wholeheartedly. What it is a con job. $24,000 average in debt, and half the people in college will never even use these skills in the workplace. This is how the man is tricking you in this situation. And as the man in this situation, I should know. So, his discussion of access to power and rich people don't want, or he says rich people send their kids to college. Thiel, Gates, Jobs, Zuckerberg are just 4 of the richest people, or were till Jobs died in the United States. All of them dropped out of college in order to do what Peter Thiel is now encouraging others to do. The last thing that I want to talk about is this discussion of money, because compared to the issues of safety, I honestly think it's less important. However, when we are talking about the money that you can get in return on investment, this isn't ROI. This is a flying bet that you will be one of the lucky people who just happens to get one of the jobs that you want. Ask yourself about how likely you are to get the life you want. Then ask yourself if college has kept its promises to you. I submit the answer to both is no. And I'm sorry for that, but truth hurts. That almost gave us high school little D times.
His entire thesis is college could be better. That is not overrated. Meryl Streep could be better. Doesn't mean she's overrated. These are not the same things. Just because college is expensive doesn't make it overrated. Remember the burdens. We started with the burdens, and he's trying to make you forget them. It is that there is a certain value that we place as a society on higher education, and it is higher than it is actually worth. If he proves that there might be better alternatives to higher education, that doesn't prove one thing one way or the other. I don't care what the underview says, because it's irrelevant. What is relevant is whether or not we value higher education appropriately. Is it valuable? Absolutely, it is valuable. A liberal arts degree might not get you that job at the newspaper that you want, but it will get you a higher paycheck. It will get you the ability to move up. It will get you the ability for promotions because you have oral communication skills that other people don't. You have taken classes in which you have leadership skills that others have not developed. These skills are important, and the wealthy elite don't want you to know that, because if you know that, then you ask for more. And when you ask for more, you get more. All right? That is the value of higher education. It's not because you get placed in the job that you had set with your counselor when you were in sophomore year. That's not the value of higher education. The value of higher education is equalizing and de-stratifying the society in which we live. If you agree with the affirmative, all you do is increase and reify that stratification. The tokens that he brings out, Forbes, Fields, Jobs, those people are exceptions to the rule, and they are rolled out by the elites in order to show, see, you can do it too. They don't want you to know that that is a fool's errand. Don't be a fool, okay? Stay in school. But I want to talk about safety, because he seems to believe that if you don't go into higher education, you'll be safe. That women are safe as long as they don't go to college. That the LGBT are safe as long as they don't go into higher education. That is not true, all right? There is danger everywhere. But the people that go through higher education are individuals that are able to address those issues head on. They don't shy away from it as much as people that don't have higher education. They're able to bring lawsuits against their accusers. They're the ones who are brave enough to stand up and get victimized again in the courtroom. Those are the heroes. Those people are the ones that we value. Those are the ones that are increasing the safety for others, because that also has a ripple effect for everybody else. If you want to side with the affirmative, basically you are siding with ignorance. You are hoping that ignorance, and you're crossing your fingers that you're just going to kind of feel your way around these sticky situations, right? You're just going to kind of know how to deal with it, but that's not the case. Statistics don't show it, and I think you know it. In the end, it doesn't matter how you measure it. If you're talking about an individual's safety, you're safer than higher education. At least it's not more dangerous. If you're talking about return on investment, it doesn't matter if it's a flying bet or you get the job that you want or don't want. The Chronicle of Higher Education points out that you get $7 back for every one that you put in, all right? Even if you switch majors, like I did, okay? Even if you get a job that wasn't your first choice, all right? The net worth of individuals with a degree is twice that of those without a degree. Ultimately, our society does not give enough value to higher education. It saves people on so many levels that we should be investing even more.
Jared is right that we should ask for more. And the start of asking for more is being honest about where we are. Meaningful criticism of a serious social problem of people getting screwed over by colleges making you promises they can't keep is not delegitimizing the process. We couldn't start to begin to challenge racism until we admitted it was real. We couldn't begin to challenge patriarchy until we acknowledged it existed. Meaningful criticism of what is wrong with the system is in no way, no, seriously, just go work for some capitalist for minimum wage for as long as you want. So I agree, we need to ask for more, and it starts with being honest with what is wrong. Now, his liberal arts degree discussion, he talks about newspapers. I'm sorry, newspapers? Dude, that's last century, bro. It's all fake news now, so I'm not really sure why you would want to do that. And I don't believe that leadership skills only come from college, and I don't think you do either. I think we value the Black Panthers, many of whom did not have a college education. I think we value the suffragettes. I think we value third-wave feminism, and I think we value these people in a way that it's not a matter of like, oh well, if only they go to college, they're brave. I say bravery is in many places, and we should honor it wherever it is. So let's talk about this idea of reifying the system. Now, when he says my exceptions are the exceptions, I think I'm underlining how we're winning those. He's like, no, everyone isn't Peter Thiel, and he's right. However, let's talk danger. Look, college can be incredibly dangerous. And his ideas about how society values college, I don't think line up. I think I'm still winning the college comedy view of what we should expect. And I think that I'm winning that college by itself can be incredibly dangerous. That 1 in 4 statistic is for college. It's not for the streets around the college. You would be safer on the sidewalk than you would be in your classroom in many of America's colleges and universities. Now, I told you at the beginning that I was going to take a risk here by being honest, and I hope that I've lived up to that. But the fact of the matter is, all of his stats about doubling earning power, that's the flying bet. Education should not be roulette. Can you imagine looking around your education recruiters and being like, congratulations and welcome to our school. Half of you will gain no benefit whatsoever and you'll leave with an average of $24,000 in debt. The few of you who do manage to get a good job then will be quoted by the Chronicle of Higher Education, which doesn't have any axes to grind in this discussion. So that's the tokens they use to make what you see now seem okay. Look around this room. Look at the empty seats. Think of the people who should be there. And ask yourself if you thought college should protect them and whether they got left behind. So that's what I think matters. And for us to start this discussion, we need to start by agreeing that college has been overvalued so that we can do what I've been saying from the beginning and start to make it a place of justice and peace.
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Of course. It seems appropriate to ask for any questions? Or, like, I don't know. I didn't know if anyone had that urge or not, but I'm like, see ya, you know?
Yeah.
So. Good. Oh, thank you.
If I had to guess that, it would be very difficult.
Oh, excellent.
Good. It shouldn't be a blowout in the next good rounds should give tough
I recorded the
RFDs.
last part of it on my phone.
Okay, cool.
Because it gave out like right before his speech, so I got that on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Like a heartwarming
Sweet.
moment.
Oh, yay!
Far from the first hug we've traded.
Yeah, this is working, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So-
So we're gonna try to. Yeah, I'll have you send that to me. We'll try to splice it together. We'll see what we
I
can do.
hope I can get a link or a copy or something.
Yeah.
You bet. We'll
I-
have to minify it a little bit
Yeah.
because what we're dealing with now is like 14 gigs of video, but
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And not to plug myself too much, but I'll probably just load it up on Debate Sensei YouTube channel, so check
Which
it out.
you should totally check out.
Yeah.
And which we've been kicking ideas around for half a day. More like him telling me what needs to happen and me explaining why it can't.
Do you have closed captioning grants to caption that so it can be shown in classes?
I don't have grants.
We
Okay.
Oh.
We could.
If you get it to me, then I can get it captioned.
Yeah.
And then route it
Yeah.
back to you.
that
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
awesome because
Yeah. Excellent.
our captioning budget is 0.
Yeah. Our forensics budget is 0.
Exactly. Well played. Well played.